Look, guys, not only is my face card declining today, I am also sick. But I don't want to delay this video any longer, because it's been like almost a month since the last one. It's fine. I'm fine. You know, I wanted to make this video for spooky season, because it is, but knowing me, this will probably get uploaded like in November somewhere, but I hope it's not. So, happy spooky season, or the end of spooky season, I guess? Sorry. And for spooky season, I had a few videos planned, but stuff happened and I failed to realize any of those plans, so I guess I'm gonna have to stick with one video. And you know, spooky season kind of inspired me to go back to horror games, so that's why I'm here making a video on probably the scariest game I have ever played in my entire life, which, if you saw the thumbnail, you guessed it, it's Alien Isolation. So when it comes to the Alien franchise, I can't say I'm particularly familiar with it. I only watched the first 4 movies, and I only liked 2 of them, which is the first and the second one. And I guess that's kind of the main opinion everyone else has, so I guess I'm not that different from every other human being on this planet. However, the vibe of especially the very first movie stuck with me for years and years. Mind you, the first time and probably the last time I watched the Alien movie, it was in 2016 when I spent months in hospitals. You know what? We won't get into that. What I was trying to say is that it was a very, very long time, but the atmosphere still sticks with me to this day. And right about then, Alien Isolation comes out, and obviously I was a very new Alien fan. I thought this was gonna be like the new franchise that I'm gonna be following, especially once I get out of the hospital, and that was the game that I really wanted to play as soon as I got out. So I guess at the end of the day, the hype that I felt for this game really paid off. So much so that it took me 2 years to finish this game. I am not kidding. Here's proof. And so for spooky season, I decided to go back to Alien Isolation to play it again, remember what I liked, what I disliked about it, and, you know, remind the world that this perfect horror game, still exists. And randomly got a sequel announcement? People are gonna think that I'm, like, jumping on the bandwagon, which I kind of am, because I am really hyped about the sequel, but I promise I planned this video before the sequel news broke out. Please, I promise. So yes, let's dive into the cosmic horror of Alien Isolation.
This is Ripley, last survivor of the Nostromo, signing off.
So much like with the Hogwarts Legacy video that I did, I'm gonna start with the bad stuff, mostly because there really isn't a lot of it for me, so let's just get it out of the way, and then we will start glazing this game from top to bottom. So when we talk about the negatives of Alien Isolation, the pretty much only thing that comes to mind is the thing that everyone complained about when this game released, which is that the game is dragged out. It overstays its welcome majorly. And to be fair with you, I agree with that sentiment. Especially the second half of the game feels so dragged out. Like, the objectives are all the same, which we will cover in the next point, but in order to proceed... Okay, imagine this. You need to get into an elevator, but it's broken. You need to fix it. In order to get the instrument to fix it, you need to open a door, but the door is locked with an electronic lock. But you can't access the electronic lock because there's no electricity. So you have to go ahead and start the generator. And you do this by mashing A and like pressing your left triggers, your L2s and stuff. And this happens over and over. Like the objectives keep jumping away from you, but they all boil down to the same thing where you have to just mash A or X, depending on the platform you're on. And that's it. That's all the objectives are. And granted, these objectives are mixed with the incredible horror sections, which we will get to when we talk about the positives of this game. But it's kind of a shame that the game just boils down to pulling a few levers and mashing one button, and then you go to the next goal to do essentially the same thing. And the problem is that the game is so long that it kind of stops surprising you when you hit the second half. You will have seen everything this game has to offer in the first half of the game. The rest is just rinse and repeat. And yeah, that seamlessly leads into the second problem that I have with this game, which I've already mentioned, but I just wanted to emphasize it, that the objectives are incredibly repetitive. The goal is always the same. You will always need to pull some sort of lever, press some sort of button, or type something on the keyboard and stuff like that. And the animations, although incredibly well detailed and fantastic, they get tiresome after like the 15th or 20th time you've seen this goddamn generator animation. And don't get me wrong, you could argue that every single game follows the exact same formula. You do stuff, you reach the goal, and then the next goal is basically the same. So you walk somewhere just to walk somewhere else. But in Alien Isolation, it feels even more tiresome, mostly because you're doing not even a similar thing, you're doing the same thing over and over. And honestly, that does get a bit tiresome, that you've spent 10 or 15 hours playing the game and you're still pressing levers, pushing buttons, and not doing anything else. So in other words, these two things that I've just mentioned, first one being that the game overstays its welcome, the story feels a bit dragged out, and the gameplay especially feels extremely dragged out, and the objectives being repetitive, they make it impossible to rate this game a 10 out of 10. Completely impossible, because this is something that is very difficult to overlook, especially on repeat playthroughs. Like, I can see a player not really paying attention to the repetitiveness of the game on their first playthrough because they're experiencing everything for the first time, they're very scared, and maybe they're not particularly focusing on the fact that they're doing the same thing over and over. But on repeat playthroughs, it's very, very noticeable, and it takes away a lot of... I completely forgot what I was saying. God damn it. Okay, you know what? Maybe recording this video sick wasn't the best idea I've ever had. But at the same time, it's been so long since I recorded a video that I physically cannot wait any longer. I need this video to be out before October ends. Otherwise, I'm gonna look like such a clown that this video was for spooky season and I miss the spooky season window. No. No. I am already a clown. I cannot get any clowner. Okay, the next thing that really bothers me about this game is that it's scary. Yeah.
Cristobal Medical Facility recommends seek some medical assurance. Relief when you're far from home.
Okay, so a little bit of a spoiler warning. So if you haven't played this game, this is your warning to close your ears and jump to the timestamp that I will put in the description to skip any second half of the game spoilers, because I need to say something, to spoil something basically, in order to explain why I put the scariness of the game as a negative. Okay, so in the second half of the game, if you remember, if you played it, you meet facehuggers. And these bastards are fast. And they one-shot you if they get too close. And the motion sensor, as much as I remember, for some part where you meet facehuggers, doesn't work. And you don't really have the time to check your motion sensor. Because if you do like anything other than burn these bastards to hell, they will get close to you and one-shot you. And I particularly remember that I think somewhere around that area is where I stopped playing. I'm not sure, but I think so. But yeah, obviously this whole thing, not the whole thing, but the point about the game being scary as a negative is a joke. It might not have even been the reason why I dropped this game, but I'm pretty sure I remember correctly that something happened to me while I was playing the game that forced me to drop it. And then I just kind of forgot about it for 2 years. And then I came back and finished it like it was nothing. I don't know. I don't remember. And believe it or not, that's it. That's literally everything bad that I can tell you about this game. Which isn't a lot. I mean, the things that I mentioned are noticeable. Believe me. They are. So it's not like, oh, this is nothing, oh, this is easy to ignore. No, it's not. Absolutely not. If the game drags out for too long, you will feel it, and you might be tempted to drop it, just like I did. I'm still not sure if that was the reason I dropped it, but you know what I mean. Another thing that I did want to mention, but I'll put it in as an in-between of positives and negatives, because I'm not really sure how to categorize it, which is the story. The story isn't particularly impressive, but the reason I feel conflicted about putting it in the negative is because I feel like it never was particularly good or moving. I feel like that wasn't the point. I think Alien has always been about world building, atmosphere, and the horror. It was never about a poignant story or, you know, emotional moments or something like that. So that's why I'm not putting the story in the negative section of this video, but I also am very hesitant to put it into the positive category, because the story is basically just a background. You just need the story to explain why you're going where you're going, and that's it. That's all the story does. It gives you a reason to traverse the ship. And I feel like it doesn't really do anything. There are no internal conflicts, there are no interesting background characters. The story is basically giving nothing, but at the same time, it isn't supposed to. At least I feel like it's not. But if we think about the story as what I called it, a background, or a reason for player to explore a different part of the ship, it works. It's not bad. It's not great, but it will just move you from place to place, and maybe what? There is nothing. Okay, do keep in mind that these are just my opinions. That's how I felt playing through this game multiple times. The story is not particularly anything. It's just there. It's just there to move you from one part of the ship to the other, and you're just going with it. And with that, we are moving into the positives of this game, and trust me, there is a lot. I like this game so much that I'm probably gonna spend a lot of time just glazing it. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the very first and very obvious positive thing about this game is the atmosphere. I feel like it replicates the movie, the first movie particularly, so well. Like, the technology, the spaceship architecture, the fashion even. It feels so authentic, it feels so true to the established universe that I was incredibly happy playing through this game for the first time after just watching the movies. And I remember feeling like, oh my god, this is literally what I watched like a couple of weeks ago, but in a video game. And to be fair, the whole sci-fi space horror is such a niche, I feel like. There are only two noticeable projects inside of it, one of them being Alien Isolation and the other one being Dead Space. And I feel like both accomplish the space horror theme so well, but in such different ways. And I feel like the way Alien Isolation executed sci-fi horror, like sci-fi space horror, is perfect. Like, the atmosphere of this game is unmatched. There's literally not a single negative thing I can say about the atmosphere of this game. That was probably the one thing that made me want to come back to this game even after I dropped it for mysterious reasons in 2016. Another positive thing, and another very obvious thing, is the gameplay, like the actual horror gameplay, not the repetitive objectives, not the mashing A to pull the lever or something, like the actual encounters with enemies. This is perfect. This is the core of the game, and it's why I love it so much, and many other people do, and it's very deserved. The way that the game handles encounters and the things that you can do is phenomenal. There is so much at your disposal, so many ways to deal with encounters, and so many things that you can use to assist yourself. It's like, you know how sometimes when you fail in a game, it feels like you were cheated, like the game did something to you. Maybe it did not register a certain hit, or maybe an enemy saw you from a very unlikely angle, or something like that, and you feel like it wasn't your fault. Like, you feel, like I said, cheated, that something happened to you. In Alien Isolation, every single game over that I got felt like it was because of me. It felt like I failed to plan for something. It felt like I didn't prepare enough for the combat encounter that I'm about to face. Because the game offers you so many tools to deal with encounters. Like your trusty motion sensor, which allows you to either check the enemy positions so that you know where to strike or where to throw something, or so that you know which places to avoid. Or like the rewire system that allows you to make noise somewhere in another area to lure enemies there, or maybe shut down the air purification so that it would create a smoke cloud for you to hide in, or shut off lighting so that other enemies would have a more difficult time finding you. And that's just basic tools. We haven't even touched upon the tools that Amanda herself can produce. And the tools that you can produce range from a simple flashbang to a freaking like dynamite thing that you can use to scare off the alien or a different enemy or something like that, you know. There are so many things you can do with the things that Amanda can craft. You can create sound generators that lure enemies to a certain location. You can place EMP mines to deal with androids. You can create smoke grenades to help you cover yourself from people. You can create the dynamite things that I mentioned before to actually hurt alien if you don't have the flamethrower yet, which I think I will get to a little bit later on, because that's a bit of a difficult thing to process. So in other words, or basically the bottom line of what I'm saying is, every single encounter can be so creative. It all depends on you. It all depends on the player expression, and there is a lot of player expression in this game. Like I said, the amount of tools at your disposal to deal with enemies, there are different types of enemies, and you have multiple tools to deal with each of them. Like there are multiple tools to deal with androids, multiple tools to deal with people, and even multiple tools to deal with the alien. There really is no wrong options of how you play this game. It all depends on how you choose to deal with the problems that arise on your playthrough. And that is why I feel like the people really appreciate this game. Because yes, the objectives are repetitive, but they are mixed with these amazing encounters that you decide how you want to play them out. And obviously it's impossible to skip over the alien itself when we talk about the encounters. The alien and its AI. I cannot even tell you how good it is. It's so not scripted. I don't know if that's even the word I'm looking for, but the alien really can just pop up whenever he wants. Are you hearing this? I hate this. So yeah, you can just be strolling about, not making any noise whatsoever, like nothing to give out your location, and this thing will pop up right in front of you. And since you thought you were safe, you are unprepared, and guess what? You're dead, because the alien reacts to the smallest noise it can hear. It's honestly fantastic how unpredictable the alien AI feels like. You are never safe, even when you feel like you are, and you're not making any noise, you're not doing anything to attract its attention, you are not safe. You are never safe. And that's, I feel like, what adds to the horror the most. The fact that you can never be sure that you are out of the woods. It's the fact that the alien can pop up anywhere without warning that keeps this game scary to this day. And that's where I guess the difficulty comes in. A lot of people say that you really should experience, and I'm pretty sure even the game itself tells you that it is preferred to play this game on hard mode, because that's how you feel pressured, that's how you feel scared to attempt something. But when you manage to pull off the plan that you had, or some like crazy chain reaction by throwing one device there, other device here, and you sneak past both of them while the enemies are distracted, it feels incredibly satisfying. Incredibly satisfying. And that is why this game still has an incredible community, even to this day, almost 10 years after the release. And speaking of the difficulty, I played on easy. And trust me, the difficulty of this game matters, well, in my opinion, it matters very little. If you're a scaredy cat like me, I like horror games, but I don't like being scared. So if you're a scaredy cat like me, playing on easy will not make this game any less scary, because the main threat, Alien, one-shots you if he gets to you. That's the thing. If he spots you, you're done. It's over. There is no running. I mean, you can try. But there is nothing you can do. Unless you have the flamethrower, which you get like around that halfway mark of the game, maybe even before that. Or if you don't have a certain tool, like the explosive, to help you deal with the alien before you get the flamethrower. You're done. You can say bye. However, the difficulty does matter when it comes to the enemy intelligence, which is perfectly demonstrated in this clip that I have for you. Okay, and another thing that I wanted to discuss, and I think I want to put it in the difficulty section as well, is the flamethrower discussion. There are people who believe that the flamethrower should not be in the game, or not exactly in those words, but they feel like it makes the game less scary. It makes it feel like you are powerful when you're not supposed to feel powerful in a game like that. And that's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, I agree. The flamethrower makes the game a lot easier to progress, especially on the easier difficulty, where you get more ammunition, you get more resources. So if you play on easy, like I do, and you get the flamethrower, that's basically where the horror should end. If you're not a scaredy cat, like me, but I am, so it wasn't over for me. But at the same time, I feel like if there wasn't a flamethrower, the game would be so annoying. There are so many sections that the flamethrower really helps you out with, and I feel like if you didn't have it, the game would be not exactly unbearable, but definitely really suffocating in some sections. So in my opinion, the flamethrower should be in the game. It's a valuable tool. It's still limited. You don't get like infinite ammo for it. You can waste it all if you're not careful enough, and then you're screwed. But I can definitely see why people would complain about it. But hey, at the end of the day, it's your choice. You can get the flamethrower and not use it if you're willing to take that challenge upon yourself. So, you do you, Diva. But I know I'm not letting go of that thing. Okay, I could talk about the combat encounters for ages and ages, but I do have a video to make, so let's move on. And the next thing that I wanted to emphasize is just how good the game looks. It still doesn't look bad. Obviously, there are games that look better, but that's only natural. But if you launch this game now, I don't think your eyes are gonna bleed or anything like that. The game looks good. Still does. And the animations, the first-person animations, remind me of DICE, the people that made Battlefield, Mirror's Edge and stuff. And in my opinion, DICE are like the first-person animation studio. Like, I feel like they make the best first-person animations. I might be wrong. Please tell me if there are any other studios that do, like, very good first-person animations, but I feel like DICE are the best at what they do. And honestly, Alien Isolation's animations sometimes could rival that. Well, maybe not rival, but they're on the same level, which is incredibly impressive when you consider that Creative Assembly, the guys that made Alien Isolation, were a very small studio at the time. And yes, I did mention that over time, these animations can get a bit repetitive, but that's not a fault of the animations themselves, that's a fault of the game loop and the objectives that the game provides you with. That's the only reason why these animations might feel repetitive and annoying, is because the game basically revolves around giving you objectives that force these animations on you. But if we forget about that for a second and isolate, get it? Isolate the animations from the objectives, they are really good. They're still incredible, and some of the like cutscenes or action sequences that happen from the first-person perspective throughout the game are really well done. And you know what? Looking at these graphics, these animations, this attention to detail, it really warms my heart, because there are games, Alien Isolation being one of them, where you look at it, you look at the details, you look at textures, you look at everything, and you just know that the people that made this game really, really cared about the project that they were doing. And I feel like this game in particular is a testament to that. The people that were responsible for this title were really concerned and very focused with, or concerned with and focused on making a great Alien game, especially considering that it's like the first actually horror Alien game that we have. I only heard rumors and stories about the other Alien games. I've never played them, but I've heard that they're like third-person shooters, like Gears of War or Halo or something like that, which is like, what? How does that make sense? Alien Isolation makes sense, and that's all the more reason for me to like it, personally. Okay, but I think now it's time for some closing thoughts and a summary of this whole... I think I was just glazing this game the entire video. I don't think I said anything like constructive or actually anything useful for people. It's fine. My channel, my rules. So the main issue with the game is obviously its length. And personally, I think that this issue can be forgiven and can be overlooked. At least I was able to do it because the game is one of a kind. There is no other game like this. At least I feel more or less confident saying it, even now. There is no other game like Alien Isolation. And that's why you are getting a very long experience, yes, that can feel dragged out, but it's the only experience you have, or the only one you get with this franchise in that style. And I feel like the best way to experience this game is by giving yourself time to rest from this game. Do not try and rush it in one go. You will get burned out. Especially if you try to go for it in one sitting, it will feel slightly dragged and slightly, well, slightly is not the word I'd use, but it will feel dragged out. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to drop the game as soon as you feel tired of it and just come back to it in a few days. Give yourself time to finish this game. No, don't rush it. Just feel the atmosphere, feel the horror, feel the terror, and honestly, this might be the horror game. Like, I've played a lot of horror games, but none of them come close to Alien Isolation. So yeah, in other words, do play this game. Either give it a shot if you've never played it before, or come back to it for the spooky season. I really encourage you to do it. It's incredible. It's fantastic. The community of this game is still alive, still kicking. There are a lot of people that really enjoy this game to this day. There are a lot of speed runs, there are a lot of challenges that people make. It's really fun. It's a really fun time. Well, if you're a fan of horror games. If you're not, this is the worst game you will ever play. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about this game, what you liked about it the most, what you disliked about it the most. Maybe there's something I missed. Actually, there's a high chance that I missed something. But with these videos, I'm basically just retelling you my thoughts, my feelings about this game. So if there's something that I missed, it's not because I did it on purpose, or actually, maybe it is, but because the thing that I missed didn't evoke any emotions in me, or didn't annoy me, or didn't impress me, or anything like that. So if I missed something, then it's probably because I kind of didn't care about it in the first place. Thanks for watching. I hope this video made some sort of sense, because my brain is not working. My sick brain is not working at all. Peace.